Welcome everyone to the Q&A session for our upcoming course, Effortless Mindfulness, the 7-week experiential journey through the 5 levels of awakening. I'm Lisa Bonis, and it's my honor to be hosting this Q&A conversation for the Shift Network, where we'll explore the teachings of Loch and address questions about his upcoming 7-week course, Effortless Mindfulness, which begins Wednesday, May 15th. And a little later, I'll explain how you can participate in this course even if you can't attend the live sessions. But first, I want to introduce our guest. Loch is an author, meditation teacher, psychotherapist, and founder of the nonprofit Open-Hearted Awareness Institute. Loch has collaborated with neuroscientists at Yale, UPenn, and NYU in the study of how awareness training can enhance compassion and well-being. As a licensed psychotherapist, Loch has been teaching seminars, supervising clinicians, and practicing awareness psychotherapy in New York City for 30 years. And in just a few minutes, we're going to open up for your questions. But first, I want to welcome Loch, who's going to start us off in our conversation by sharing with us the difference between deliberate and effortless mindfulness. Welcome, Loch. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Hi, Lisa, and hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Looking forward to spending some time and answering your questions today. This is a good opportunity to be able to dialogue. So many of you have heard about mindfulness, and most of what is called mindfulness is what I call deliberate mindfulness. There's another type of mindfulness which I hope to share with you here today and also during this course, which is already a natural capacity within us. It's actually the way we're awake and aware that's behind the fast-moving thoughts, feelings, and sensations. And when we do deliberate mindfulness, we tend to create an attentional, one-pointed awareness and try to focus on our breath or on the contents of consciousness that come through. So we're still creating a kind of point of view, a witness that is located in a kind of a detached observer. And hopefully, when you experience effortless mindfulness, you feel almost like the background awareness and the foreground chatter switch places. And there's just an ease of being, similar to the way we feel when we're walking in nature or doing most of the things we love during our free time, like gardening or playing sports. We shift out of the thought-based, mental, little, small, separate sense of self and into a kind of open mind and open heart. So it's this more spacious and pervasive, embodied and interconnected feeling that's already here. And it's simply our habit of orienting to this small kind of mini me that's looking out of our eyes and feels that way. So we'll do a lot of small glimpses rather than long periods of concentration or attentional practice. And we could even begin with one now that's just very simple and playful. So all we need to do is simply take an in-breath that's a little bigger than you usually do and hold it for a second or two. And then let out a sigh and let go of the breath. Now see if you notice a kind of thought-free wakefulness, a relief that isn't lost and is just simply aware, but not aware from a location, just kind of a presence or a open, relaxed feeling of being. And just starting to get a feel for that. So we'll do it again, and this time I'll just let you feel it. So you'll be aware of it, of that kind of relaxation and the not being lost, and then see whether you're aware from it of whatever and anything that's arising is welcome. So again, whenever you're ready, simply taking a little deeper breath. Holding and So just notice whether you begin maybe to get a feeling for an awareness that's aware of sensation, thought, objects, that doesn't come and go, that isn't worried, but could be aware of worry, and that's already here and this far away. Once we begin to familiarize ourselves with this feeling of being. So that's a good little beginning taste, and there's many more, and much of what I'll be doing during the course is coming through different learning doorways for people who are more kinesthetic or emotional or verbal, auditory, different learning styles, different glimpses, all very short and direct. So I'll hope you'll come along and try to see whether you can return home with these glimpses.
All right. Wow. Well, thank you, Loch. That was fascinating. And we have the rest of our time together to dive into our viewers' questions for Loch as we prepare for his upcoming course. Again, that's called Effortless Mindfulness, and it begins Wednesday, May 15th. And if you want to check out the website and learn more about the 7-week course, you can visit effortlessmindfulnesscourse.com to see the full description. So let's get into some Q&A. If you have a question for Loch, just go ahead and type it in, and I'll be happy to read it out loud. And in the meantime, we've already got some questions waiting for us. In fact, got one here from John who says, is effortless mindfulness the flow state, or is it the daydream state between alpha and theta?
Yeah, great. Thank you, John. That's a great question. It is closer to the flow state. So one of the amazing things is that in effortless mindfulness, it's not done only by closing your eyes and going to a quiet place and getting refreshed and renewed. So to say from the beginning that deliberate mindfulness is a wonderful practice and has great results, effortless mindfulness is traditionally the next stage of mindfulness, and it moves you into being able to live and practice in the midst of your day with eyes open. So the result is an awakened consciousness, which is like a flow state. And what a flow state is, for those who may not know exactly what it is, it's also called being in the zone by athletes, or a flow state is when you're optimally functioning, but you're not orienting to thought. You're not creating a little separate sense of self, but you feel like a musician would be playing part of an orchestra, and when they're in a flow state, they're able to feel the connection with the rest of the musicians and play as if they've known it by heart. Yeah, it's second nature, are these other words for this. So optimally functioning, eyes open, joyful, interconnected, ease of being, including feelings and emotions that arise, not rejecting them, not stopping thoughts, but upgrading to this background pervasive dimension of awake consciousness. And then in terms of the alpha and the beta, it's actually the gamma state. So rather than in deliberate mindfulness, you often go from beta, agitated, chattering mind to alpha, calm. And in effortless, you have the alpha, but then you have gamma, which is actually the creative state, the aha. So it's almost like a continuous intuition, a kind of playful, creative state of mind that's relaxed and happy and related to other people and is not as reactive. So it's amazing that nowadays we have the ability to have some of these markers that really show us the value not only of reported qualities of ease and creativity, joy, and balance, but the brain states are shown. And I've been in the fMRI as a guinea pig myself, and it's amazing to see that what I'm feeling is verified by neuroscience. So thanks, John.
Okay, thank you. We've got a few different people asking about how the physical body is involved. Let me read Kirsten's version of it. She wants to know, how should I work with holding patterns in the body that restrict me from going deeply into awareness in the body?
Yes, beautiful question. Yes, and we'll deal with this in a couple of different ways. The tendency from what I call operating system 1, which is our current small separate sense of self, the little mini me or ego identity, takes emotional trauma or negative states, and it feels as if it almost either wants to grab hold of it, like a painful state when you're cold and your body's cold, you kind of, hold it and wrestle with it or try to make it better. And it actually creates kind of a cloud of your body mind that then you're trying to work with it in a small space. And what we do here in effortless mindfulness is that we either go deeply within to the space, or we ask the part of us that feels upset if we can have some space. And then we feel this move of separation or disidentification, and then we open to the more open mind, open heart, or more spacious awareness that's already aware. And then as soon as we find that spacious awareness is our boundless ground, remaining open, we come back in kind of a loving, more dynamically capable way to find out, okay, what was I upset about? What is this part of me needing? And so there's more capacity. So in some ways, rather than focusing on the problem, analyzing it, fixing it, wrestling with it, denying it, repressing it, we discover the solution of the greater capacity and then come back. So initially, as you say, there can be some parts of you that feel like you're leaving them, or they're a little afraid of that first openness. But if you start to ask them if they want some love and they want some joy and some healing, if you can shift out, eventually they'll give you just the few minutes you need to resource with the source. And then with these instructions you'll be able to feel the capacity to come back and see how this part of you or this area that was fearful is now feeling from this greater dimension of consciousness. So it's not a spiritual bypass, but it's not actually what I call a psychological underpass, which means that you only use psychological tools. And it's not a cognitive overpass where you try to just mentally understand what's going on? What should I do? How should I, what part of my childhood was this about? So it's this vast resourcing with the source, and then coming back to include from a more loving sense of a larger sense of self.
Okay, thank you. That's a lot to think about. Let's follow this a little further into the body, where Moon Willow's actually asking, does effortless mindfulness help you to feel more comfortable in your own skin?
Yes. Yeah. And I'll just say, I'll follow up from that last one before I go into this, that some of, where I've started both in these kind of wisdom traditions of meditation, and then also working in psychiatric hospitals with clients and in private practice with people with complex trauma, is that the system that I work with, and one of my colleagues, Dick Schwartz, who created IFS, who we teach together, and I'll teach you a little about this, my variation on this system, has found that this resourcing with this larger sense of self is actually what is most healing for people with complex trauma. So there's research that this advanced practices are not just for the Olympic athletes of meditation or those who are willing to join a monastery or cave, but are almost a necessity for us everyday people who live in the midst of the world, and especially for those who feel that they have some emotional resistance to meditation or to spiritual growth. So one of the amazing things, and we'll do this fairly early on in the course, is most people are trying to be embodied from their head. So if you're in your attentional system, or even your mindful witness, which is detached, and you're mindfully aware of your body, you're actually aware of your body from a little calmer point of view. And what we'll do is we'll open to the spacious, interconnected field of being. And when your awareness then drops in, you'll literally feel your body from within your body. So you'll be able to feel your knee from your knee. And you'll feel your body as space, tingling sensation, and awareness, with a feeling of kind of edgelessness, interconnectedness with others that feels safe and natural, and a kind of animal safety from this grounded being that feels like a Tai Chi master is training to learn how to do. And the amazing thing is we can learn how to shift into that flow state in minutes, rather than having to do 10,000 hours of an activity. And we can shift into this embodied, energetic, awareness-based feeling of being home and being safe, being as if we're like a cat is the feeling, or like a child on the first day of summer vacation is what some people say.
Okay, fantastic. And again, while we're on the body, let's take a question here from Kim, who wants to know, how would you use this style of meditation to deal with physical pain? But then we've also got other people asking about illness. Can you address that?
Absolutely. So these are all great questions, and like you, these are the questions I asked myself as I started and was fortunate enough to kind of stumble onto this, kind of quest for what could help with pain, what could help with trauma, what could help with other forms of unhappiness. And I actually have just written a book called The Way of Effortless Mindfulness, and one of the chapters is called Effortless Mindfulness Pain Relief Method. And so, so we might do just a little playful sense of what this might be like, though I won't be able to give you the full setup that I do when we do the course. But the feeling is, like with pain, let's say you have arthritis in one of your hands. So the pain signal is going from your hand to this operator in your head, and it's meant to be strong and immediate and take your attention away from whatever you're doing. So it keeps sending a signal saying, check this out, check this out, check this out. So what we'll do in effortless mindfulness is we unhook local awareness from thought, which is basically we take the operator and have the operator drop down, and you can try this right now, see what it's like. We're just assuming that there's a identification and a contraction that creates a separate sense of self. Meanwhile, the feeling of being is that the awareness is everywhere and aware from the spaciousness and from within. So awareness is within the thinking and the thinker. So just without even knowing how you might be doing it, just see what it's like to have awareness, which is identified with thinking, step back and unhook from thinking. And then feel as if that bubble of awareness is not looking from your head, but actually drops down, so you're aware of your jaw from your jaw. And somehow the awareness moves itself to feel your throat from within your throat. And just not checking up to thought to see whether you're feeling, and not stretching attention down. Just see what it's like to be aware of the space, the aliveness, and awareness directly from the same place within your throat. And then just allow your awareness to move on its own, to be aware of your left shoulder, from within your left shoulder. And then at your own pace, just feel this intelligence of awareness move itself down your left arm, to your left elbow, feeling that space, energetic aliveness and awareness from within. And then feel this globe of intelligence, feel your forearm, your wrist, and then be aware of the operator that sees and knows directly to be aware of your hand from within your hand. And if you had pain in your hand, you could do this with your back or anywhere else. You'll notice that the awareness is feeling and seeing that there's no knife in your hand, that there may be some inflammation, and the intelligence can be aware of the space around and within, and just be with everything as it is, but let this area know that it doesn't have to call you every minute, and that everything can go to voicemail as you let the awareness go into the bigger field of intelligence that knows that you've taken care of it by checking it out medically, but that moment to moment it can go down from an 8 on a pain scale to a 2 and just be a background feeling. Answer questions by giving practices. So.
That was very useful. Thank you. This next question, a lot of people are asking this one. Let me read Brenda's version of this. She says, I've tried and failed in the past to incorporate mindfulness, other people are calling it meditation, into my life. How do I get over feeling like I'm going to fail before I even start?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Brenda. So that and others, yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It's in some ways it is a new habit. So it's like learning anything, and there's going to be some imperfection, just like other positive habits that we try to do, like eating right and exercising and brushing our teeth every night and things like that. So there's going to be some imperfect, not everyday monastic discipline. But if we find the right match of meditation, it truly now is clear from research how good it is for you. It literally is as important now as sleeping well, eating right, exercising, and meditation is kind of the fourth leg of health. So there's some motivation in, I think, finding the match or the right version that works for you. Now, this one is good for me. I have some ADD and dyslexia, or had that more as a kid. And so I didn't like concentrating or watching my breath. I'd be very bored. Oh, that's very boring. Okay, what will I do next minute? Oh, probably watch my breath some more. What about tomorrow? Oh, must be my breath, yes. And what I found is that when I met one of my teachers from first, it was actually a Chinese teacher who was an acupuncturist, and another one who was a Tibetan teacher who taught basically the same thing, which is don't concentrate, don't meditate, just marinate, just relax, and don't get lost. So this is what we're going to do, is we're going to learn a method of shifting out of the meditator into the already awake, loving presence, and just getting used to that. Then we're going to lose it and go back to doubting mind and fearful mind and judging mind. We're going to notice we're there, and we're not going to try to clean up the cloud or debate, but we're going to unhook and drop from head to heart. Go deep within, open up to the space all around, let go, and discover that which is already aware. And then from that easy, effortless awareness, just come back and feel embodied and interconnected, and find a way to do these small navigating adjustments of consciousness during the day in a way that is comfortable for you. So there's many different ways to do this that doesn't require long periods of sitting or concentration practice, but will give you just as many benefits and even more, and will take you into this kind of loving, blissful ease and healing presence that is already around us and within us, and it is our natural condition. So it's finding the right match and being willing to look in different places and not just accept, this one way is the only way to meditate or to do mindfulness. There's different ways, and try them out and find the one that works for you. Some people do movement meditation, qigong or yoga as beginning practices to move their body. Other people sing or go on walks. So there's different ways to access this dimension. And what we're going to do, though, is we're going to find which ways do you like to access it naturally, like walking in nature or moving. And then we're going to be able to find, okay, what does that feel like if you could shift into that right now? And we're going to find ways to touch and taste and be that natural, awake, open-hearted being that we have always longed to be.
All right, great. If you're just joining us, we're here with Loch Kelly learning about his upcoming course, Effortless Mindfulness, which begins Wednesday, May 15th. And you can log on to effortlessmindfulnesscourse.com for all the details and to register. And Loch, I'm really glad that you brought up ADD because people are asking about that. Can you talk a little bit about ADD, ADHD, and how it relates to effortless mindfulness?
These are all set up questions. They're all great because they're exactly what the course is about and exactly why I was so glad to find this for myself, because it addressed things that frustrated me and made me spend a lot of time and energy just trying to get to do the basic things that other kids were doing, because my mind was distracted. So this is the main difficulty, is this perpetual dissatisfaction and this perpetual inability to focus or concentrate. Yeah. So what most people do is then try to focus harder or try to learn concentration. And what's happening is the moving mind tries to concentrate, but as soon as you're aware of your breath, the mind moves, and then you come back and you forgot, what was I doing? Oh yeah, right, I was concentrating. And we keep creating this one-pointed, trying to focus on this attentional, effortful type of focusing. And our brains don't work that way. Some people's a little better than others, but even then, you really have to put yourself in kind of blinders like a horse that is limited. So there is a way of focusing that I've done some research in and have had studies that show that it's available, that you literally, what we're going to do in this course is open our awareness around, kind of like when you're driving a car, you have to go to peripheral vision. And then we're going to continue to open around to feel that there's this kind of panoramic 360-degree awareness behind us, around us, so our view is open. And then we're going to learn how to open that view to be aware of the space in the room. And then make a U-turn, Y-O-U-turn, and all of a sudden we're going to be aware from that spacious awareness that's already been aware, as if we're looking from a panoramic view back to our breath, to an object in the room, to any task or person we're with. And so it's this feeling of shifting from a small point of view to opening, to find this awareness that is aware from all around and within. And as soon as we find that, what's called nature of mind or natural perception, it's the brain state that people who are in the flow state are in. They feel time slows down, you're in the now. You can focus effortlessly and see the whole panoramic vision of what's going on. You know when to do what. You're not orienting to thought or creating a manager in your mind. So it's this that we're going to spend a good amount of time. So I feel like the problem isn't attention deficit. It's actually attention overload. So if we try to solve attention deficit by attention overload, we're going to make it worse. And the solution is literally looking from your open mind and open heart. And then there's a way of learning it. Some people can do it easily in literally moments. And others, it will take not that long, which is the amazing thing. At first, it's like, oh, that's hard. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, let's try it this way. No, how about this way? No, how about this way? Oh, 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 well, why didn't you say that before? And then there's literally, effortless mindfulness means that there's an awareness that's effortlessly aware, that's around us, within us, and interconnected, from which we can be effortlessly mindful. And it just changes life. And it's not that difficult to learn. It's unusual and new, and it's what the advanced practices are about. But the advanced practices from wisdom traditions are actually simpler, and that's what I've spent the last 20 years doing, is kind of reverse engineering and filling in the little gaps to figure out how to teach it, how to learn it. Why don't they say this? If they're going from here to there, we can go this way or we can go that way. So I hope that gives you a sense of hope that there is another way to focus that feels calm and has clarity.
Okay, well, it's helpful for me because I'm ate up with it. So I appreciate the answer. Thank you. Let's take a question here from Jonathan, who says, in your experience, what has been the most effective glimpse practice that people can use in daily life?
Okay. I mean, each person is different. So I want to say that from the beginning, that I have about 12 categories of glimpse practices, and 10 in each category for the different levels, the different shifts. I'm calling them 5 levels of awakening. And you can go right from level 1 to level 5, and you can go through different doorways. But let me give you the one that maybe people like the most because it's the simplest and takes the least amount of new learning to do. So it starts with just the premise that there is awakening within us, that each of us already has what we're looking for in terms of the pre-installed operating system of happiness, loving, ease of being, presence, awakeness, non-fear, non-worry, and non-shame. And that dimension of being is what all the wisdom traditions have talked about and have sought. And the good news is it's already within us. And the second part is that the only thing that keeps us from realizing it is simply a habit of orienting from a small, separate sense of self, which is reinforced by conditioning and takes a little while to unlearn. But the ego function, the functioning of our animal, has created an ego identity, which isn't our identity. And that little mini-me, that I think, therefore I am project, is trying to solve the problem of how do I find happiness? How do I get free? But the one who's looking is the one who needs to relax. So the problem solver is trying to find the solution to the problem without just relaxing itself. So here's the simple inquiry that people find to be most available in the midst of life, daily life. So just ask yourself this simple inquiry, and then let your awareness relax and feel what's here. Feel the awareness and the aliveness. Once you understand the inquiry, and then look, unhook and look with awareness. So the inquiry is this: simply inquiring what's here now when there's no problem to solve. So just simply not looking to thought, not going to sleep. Let your awareness feel what's here when the problem solver relaxes. So just this curious shift of awareness. What's here now? What's this that's aware? What qualities arise? When just now, there's no problem to solve. So see what that's like. Most people report some sense of relief, joy, opening of a spaciousness or open mind, feeling of love, connection, dropping out of thinking into a more peaceful feeling of well-being. But, just playing with this shift, because the premise is this effortless mindfulness, this effortless heart mindfulness is already here. And we can learn a bunch of little glimpse practices like this in the course if you would like to try.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Looking at the clock here, we have time for a few more questions, but before we take those, I want to give a few details about the course itself. Again, it's called Effortless Mindfulness, and this is going to be just a fascinating 7-week journey under Loch's expert guidance, where you'll learn to apply effortless mindfulness to connect with the wisdom of the larger field of consciousness anytime and anywhere. And the 7-week course takes place on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, starting Wednesday, May 15th. And if for any reason you can't join us live, you won't miss the teachings. You receive audio and video replays, transcripts, and all course handouts on your course homepage. And also, I'd like to remind you that we offer a no-risk money-back guarantee on all of our courses, giving you a full 2 weeks until May 29th in this case to make sure that you absolutely love it. And as an added option, all participants are welcome to connect in a private Facebook community group so you can stay connected with one another. Also, everyone who registers receives the Effortless Mindfulness Bonus Collection. First, you'll receive a set of 3 video teachings from Loch entitled Relieving the Root of Suffering. Then you'll get a 7-part audio teaching from Loch called Turn Yourself Around. And you also receive a PDF expert from the upcoming book by Loch Kelly entitled The Way of Effortless Mindfulness, a Revolutionary Guide for Living an Awakened Life. And when you register by midnight Pacific on Thursday, May 9th, you'll receive this extra gift, a 4-part audio program from Loch Kelly entitled Awareness Embodied Day. So before we get back into questions, Loch, let me ask you, what are you most looking forward to sharing in your upcoming course?
Yeah, so really what I'm interested in is how, rather than giving theory or philosophy or beautiful poetic sayings. I'm a practical person who wants to help you to learn how to be happy. And so the thing I really love is to be able to have this time of 7 weeks, which for this method is perfect, to be able to kind of go by step, go through the premises and the practices and learn the how-to of mindfulness in this way that's completely unique, that in some ways the word mindfulness is not even related to what you may know as mindfulness. But to be able to learn how to be awake and access this natural sense of compassion, well-being, that allows you to feel embodied and deal with the more emotional contents of consciousness, the different subpersonalities or parts of you that make it hard and try to sit in the seat of yourself. We're going to, find this larger self that is able to love those parts back to health.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And I want to correct myself. It's not at 5 p.m. It's at noon on Wednesdays. As I was saying it, I was like, wait a minute, that's not right. So I double checked while you're talking. The class runs at noon on Wednesdays. So that said, let's go ahead and get back into questions here. We've got a question here from Anne who says, can you please comment on what I'm experiencing? I tend to feel a bit numb at times, like I'm zoning out, not real crisp, clear, or awake, and sometimes I fall asleep. What are your thoughts?
Yes, so we will definitely go through different states of consciousness that are close to or what I call cul-de-sacs or little eddies that we get caught in as we try to learn meditation or mindfulness, or we just try to relax. We'll go into numbing out, or what I call browning out, or we'll go into spacing out. Many people may know that one. Or we'll go into even blissing in, which is kind of just feeling like you're in a little blanket and feel everything's okay, and then all of a sudden something will break through or you get triggered, and then you'll try to go back to that. So there's certain states of minds and consciousness that are like meditation or that are actually preliminary practices of meditation. And we're going to, see where we can get through those, how to move through, recognize that kind of feeling of what you're calling numbing out as a way just to kind of feel safe or calm, self-soothe. And then we're going to find, kind of better ways, better doorways to go to find that which is already wide awake, even if your body rests towards sleep. So that's kind of an interesting thing you can play with, is you can feel like, okay, let my body and even mind kind of start to rest, but notice the wide awake awareness that's in some ways deeper than sleep and yet wide awake, that's here with the rest so that you don't fall asleep. You learn how to rest while alert. And this, these kind of things are part of the map we'll be exploring and the practices.
Okay, thank you. Once again, we've got a couple different people asking this similar question. So let me read Deborah's version of it. She says, I want to be more mindful and meditate more. This sounds amazing, but my husband can be a bit of a naysayer. Do you have any suggestions for people with negative family members or no support system, or just basically somebody who's just a big downer?
Yes. So, in some ways, the world is difficult, and this method is small glimpses many times during the day. So in some ways, people in your life don't even have to know you're doing it. It literally takes minutes, and you could be washing dishes and looking out the window and doing it. You could be sitting at your computer and look above your computer and do it. Or go take a walk to the water cooler and do it while you're walking, or walk out to lunch and do it on the way, or just step into the other room. So the goal of finding time is immediately solved because it takes fewer minutes, and then the resource and the experience of the result is that you're less reactive to others and you're less enmeshed. So one of the things about meditation is you can become too detached, and the other situation many people have is they're too enmeshed, and they get into their subtle energy field and subtle mind, and they're so connected to other people that they're taking their energy on. And this is one of our main topics, is how to detach with love and find resource with the source, and then feel at home in a safe way, and then feel connected to others who can be bubbling up with their own experience, and we can have compassion without having pity or without feeling enmeshed or taking their energy on if they're upset or they're trying to trigger us or whatever they're doing. There's an ability to let them be themselves, and surprisingly, people start to, often react at first, but then there's a new kind of acceptance, loving kindness, unconditional love that changes whole families. And you'll see this, and I get reports of this all the time, just by being different and non-reactive from a loving place. People don't find anything to fight with, and then they kind of start to resonate where you are. So it's definitely designed to be able to do it anywhere, anytime, with your eyes open, and have amazing results.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Let's take a question here from Leslie, who says, can you say more about what you mean by non-dual?
Sure. Yeah, so non-dual is one of the words that's used for these advanced practices. And there's two definitions that are around about non-dual. The first one means that we're caught in our dualistic mind, creating this dualistic separate sense of self, which causes suffering. What about them? What about me? It's my fault. It's their fault. What's going on out there? What's going on in here? And creating this separation, which is a dualistic perception, which becomes primary. And so the first shift that we're going to explore is either dropping from head to heart or opening to this pure awareness, which is sometimes called not dual awareness or non-dual awareness. But from the tradition I'm from, the pure awareness, which is already aware, it becomes the ground we're aware from, and then it includes our body, mind, and relative world. And non-dual then means the ultimate reality and the relative reality are not two. So non-dual means an ability to shift the primacy of the ultimate awareness, spirit, loving, non-reactive source as the primary dimension of who we are, and then to not stay transcended, which would be a new dualism of leaving, but to actually include and be interconnected with our bodies and with everything. So there's not two things. So the ultimate reality is appearing as sacred appearances, dancing. Shiva and Shakti are dancing together, ultimate and relative, infinite and finite. But the finite is secondary to the infinite, and the sacred is what's arising as the mundane. So that's one kind of more definitional discussion of non-dual. I hope that's helpful.
Okay, thank you. And I'm glad you mentioned that that's a bit of an advanced question, because Ocean's asking, is this an advanced course that requires a background in mindfulness to appreciate the depth, or can newbies join as well?
That's a good question, good timing too, because I can kind of answer anybody's question from beginner to advanced, and yet my main focus is really that this is a natural ability within human beings, and it's such a different form of mindfulness that sometimes people who are advanced mindfulness practitioners have a harder time learning it. They're like, what? Wait a minute. I've been doing this concentration practice. I have this ability to calm my mind, and now you're telling me let go of all that and go to this way of being present from a non-linear way of being. So I would say that the primary goal is to help everyone to focus on experiential practices that will go step by step. And so everyone will be learning with beginner's mind and experiencing for themselves where they are and what the obstacles are and the challenges and including those, and then trying different doorways until we get the first principles, and then we get the second principles, and then the third principle will start to kind of integrate everything in a way that is very experiential and easy to follow.
All right, perfect. Thank you. I think that's a great way to end. This has just been a fantastic hour. I want to thank our viewers for being with us today and for all of your fantastic questions. Once again, Effortless Mindfulness starts Wednesday, May 15th. And again, you can visit effortlessmindfulnesscourse.com to learn more and to register. So before we cut you loose, Loch, do you have any final words for our viewers?
Just come on along. It's worth a try. It is an advanced practice made simple. And if you get it, or more likely, if it gets you, then the reports are being happy for no reason and discovering the well-being and the awakeness that you've always been and that who you truly are. And this is a real gift. So I hope to join you all, and you'll join me, and we can meet on Facebook in that group as well. Thanks so much.
All right. Wow. Thank you again, Loch. It has been really a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Lisa. Really enjoyed your way of leading the discussion.
Well, I enjoyed it as well. And once again, thank you to everyone who joined us today. On behalf of all of us at the Shift Network, I wish you well and look forward to having you on this course or perhaps another one in the future. Have a great day, everyone.